Hi there, friends. Brett Martin, Vice President of Community Impact at United Way of Greater Topeka. One of the things we talk about in our community when we're talking about the success of individuals and families is that place matters. And when we talk about place mattering to families, we can also have conversations about food and about food deserts and food security for our families. I'm standing here in the parking lot of the Dillons in Fleming Place at 10th and Gage. This grocery store is primarily the grocery store for Central Topeka. As many of you know, the Central Topeka Dillons on Huntoon closed about 4 years ago. The closure of that Dillons created a food desert. So if you can imagine for a moment looking east, you can imagine a funnel with the smaller end here in Central Topeka and getting wider as you make your way eastward. Just under 2 miles from here at 6th and McVicker is the Walmart Neighborhood Market, and these are really the only two food sources for folks who live in Central Topeka. So for those folks who rely on public transit, for example, or rely on walking or riding their bikes, it makes it difficult to be able to get to grocery stores, particularly for those folks who are in Central Topeka. Now remember, for those folks who live live according to the bus route, that is, their lives are really dictated by the bus route, they're allowed 2 bags of groceries. And they also have to time their shopping trips based on when the bus drops off and when the bus picks them up. Now, if you're riding the bus here, the 10 that comes by Dillons, you've got about 45 minutes from the moment you get off the bus, shop, and then make sure you're back at the stop in plenty of time for the bus to make its way back inbound. When we talk about food insecurity, we know that roughly 1 in 6 persons in Topeka lives in poverty. So let me talk about that in terms of real numbers for families, particularly in terms of how much they have to spend on food. So a family of 4 who makes $32,000 a year lives at 100% of the poverty level, and that means that they qualify for benefits. Think about that, $32,000 a year. Out of that $32,000, they have to pay for housing, they have to pay for their transportation costs, they have to pay for food, and they have to pay for emergencies that come up, and for health insurance. Remember, in Kansas that children are covered under CanCare, but we are one of just a few states that have still not passed Medicaid expansion for adults. So that's not much room. For those families that do qualify for benefits, the maximum amount of SNAP benefits they get, that is food stamps, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, is $309 a month. Again, that's for a family of 4, so still not a lot of room in their budget. If you think about this for someone who works a minimum wage job, that individual has to work 21 hours just to be able to make enough money to cover food for what the USDA says is the low end of a budget for a family of 4, somewhere a little under $150 a week, clear up to $300 a week, kind of on the high end. So an individual who works a minimum wage job has to work 21 hours just to be able to meet that $150 minimum for a family of 4. Food insecurity is a big deal in our community. That's why we invest in basic needs grants for food assistance. That's why we work with a whole host of partners on a number of different things in our community to make sure that we're looking at systems and we're looking at policies to make sure that more of our individuals and our families have access to food. So recently, United Way led the effort to create the Shawnee County Farm and Food Council. This council is a publicly appointed council who has representation from both the city and the county to be able to provide assistance and recommendations to policymakers so we can try to reduce the number of food deserts in our community. Most recently, we joined together with our partners at Topeka Rescue Mission and the city of Topeka on Operation Food Secure, which is a program that the USDA has as part of their expansion work in terms of farm to family, where they're bringing fresh produce, fresh dairy, and pre-cooked meats to families in our community. This is just one of the many ways that we're working together with our partners to make sure that more of our families have access to food and fewer of our families are food insecure. On your next stop, you're going to see that place in Central Topeka where the Dillons once stood, where now Grace Med, our federally qualified health clinic, sits.